What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I got to have that Teege pack. Teege makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun. And a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Teege Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Teege Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Teege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Teege Hanley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Teege pack. Feel the Teege, my friends. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. It is Thursday, April 6, 2023, year of our Lord. I am your host of the Millionaire Morning Show, Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to each and every morning, weekdays, Monday through Friday, in which we put in that work. We don't miss. We put in that work. Going out of town, we put in that work. Going to party on Tigers opening day like it is here in Metro Detroit, we put in that work. I was walking into the office this morning. I love working downtown because it allows for me to be able to get out and interact with the people. But I was walking into the office this morning, and I seen a lot of white people. I mean, a lot of white people. And that's not out of the ordinary as far as seeing the melting pot here in Metro Detroit or downtown Detroit specifically, but they were out there. They had their pickup trucks and they minivans. Apparently, they had dropped the kids off of school and they called off of work and they said, listen, it's Tigers opening day and we're going to be tailgating all morning long. I'm talking about 7 o'clock in the morning. Parking lots is full, $50 to $55 per person. As close as they can get to Comerica Park where the Tigers opening day start. And they out there setting up their beanbag tossing events and getting things together. And they got on their windbreakers and they got their thermoses and their hoodies and everything like that. And I said, God damn it, these people are dedicated. I mean, it's certain days of the year that you are going to have to weave and sandal your way through downtown Detroit in order to be able to get to where you need to go. Rita said, I'm coming down to the Tigers opening day. I said, okay. She said, can I use your parking spot? I said, absolutely. They catching the queue line. We got a light rail system going down Woodward Avenue that a lot of people are not familiar with because Detroit is really, really growing as far as infrastructure, business. A lot of small businesses are moving here. And we got a lot going on, but these white people are dedicated. I mean, when they put their mind to something, whether it's storming the Capitol building or opening up for Tigers Comerica Park opening day, they are going to be here and they're going to pay whatever price it needs to be paid. I mean, seriously, it was a tent Here, let me show y'all. I might have even recorded some of it. I'm walking up at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Let me airdrop this to myself. 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, good grief. They got the music playing, the tent is popping, Bud Light beer flowing. These people are prepared. These people are prepared. That's how they went and colonized y'all. That's how they colonized y'all. Y'all came in capturing slaves with a net, and they was like, listen, we got a whole boat over here. If you looking to get rid of some slaves? I was like, yeah. You got a net? Cool. You went over there. You conquered you a tribe. They came over here with a boat because they had learned from Christopher Columbus with the Santa Maria and the Santa Fe or whatever it is. You know, I'm a sea student. I don't really know. But they came over prepared. And then I seen a couple homely black people that wasn't prepared for the weather. Y'all got to be able to take a joke. Y'all got to be able to take a joke. Let me show you what these people is out here looking like, man. I can't make this up if I wanted to. Where's the downloads folder? All right, let me see if I can pull this up. Man. I had to pull out my phone. I said, man, I don't remember the last time that I was down here this early because my office is down here, and, you know, we got Tigers opening day. Was that 2113? Let's see if we can find that. Look at this, bro. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. Look at this. It's only gonna get worse throughout the day. Look at it. Look at them. 8 o'clock in the morning, bro. It's pretty insane. They out there. They're prepared. They're prepared to party. They're prepared. They're already grilling and chilling. They got their tent set up. They was over there having a good time. White people wake up early. White people wake up at like 4:30 in the morning. They do. White people wake up at like 4:30 in the morning. A lot of people don't realize this. I remember I went and seen E.T., Eric Thomas, back in Cleveland, and this was a while ago because they was filming the Fast and Furious. And I'm gonna get to the super chats. We're gonna get the show started shortly because this is the money show. I was going and filming, well, not filming. I was going to visit E.T., and so I was there, and, you know, I did the VIP and all of that. And E.T., he was talking, and that was actually back when what's the artist's name? Toby Nwingwe or something like that. I forgot what his name was. And nobody knew who this guy was. And he blew up during the pandemic, and the dude is killing it now, but he had just signed to E.T. Records. And Toby actually opened up for E.T., and he did his passionate thing, and, you know, it was, and he was trying to figure it out. And so E.T. was putting them on, and I seen CJ and all of them there or whatever. And E.T. said something. He said, listen, a lot of y'all problem, and this resonated with me. This always resonated with me. He said a lot of people's problem it's not that they're not talented. It's not that they don't have the know-how. It's not that they don't have the business acumen. It's not that they're smarter than you. It's that they're more intentional, they're consistent, and then they wake up earlier than you. They're intentional, consistent, and then they wake up earlier than you. I'm telling you that is the key when it comes to success with regard to business. It's the key to come to success when it comes to finding a fucking parking spot downtown Detroit or any other city. It is the key when it comes to success with regard to relationships. It's the key to success when it comes to content creation. You don't always have to be the smartest person in the room. I take pride in the fact that I'm a C student. As a matter of fact, I see people all the time and they say stuff like, well, this person has 1 million subscribers, and Anton, you only have 130,000 subscribers on this channel and 170,000 subscribers on that channel, and whatever, so on and so forth. And I take pride in that. And they say, well, Anton, it took you a lot longer to get to yours than it took to them. Well, that just actually shows you that everybody is not a star, but very few people actually know what it takes in order to be successful. I make more money than them. I generate more revenue. And then when I was able to duplicate the process, the first channel, it took me some years because I never even anticipated getting to 1,000 subscribers. I started the channel in order to document my journey so that something will be able to be left in you know, in the event that I died one day or something like that. But then in addition to that, I use it as an opportunity to promote myself and market myself more effectively in order to grow in corporate America. So then when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm like, everything else is points on the board. I hit 10,000. I'm like, this is crazy. I had a video that went viral with the gambling video that did 1.7 million views. I said, this is out of control, right? But eventually I grew to like 50,000 subscribers. And it took like some years in order to get there because I was figuring it out and I was building a plane as I flew it. And then a lot of people, they have they can leapfrog off of the things that me and Angry Man and so many people that came before us built, because now we're giving away a lot of the free information in the game and even in the Patreon, right? I did a whole webinar where I showed people exactly how they need to set up things on the back end. You ain't got to try to figure it out for yourself. This is what your thumbnails need to look like. This is how you need to title your videos. This is how consistent you need to upload. This is the type of money that you make off of this video versus a live stream versus this versus that. And I gave the whole sauce. I'm giving the whole sauce so a lot of people can come through and they can do it a lot faster. As a matter of fact, I proved it because I then started the Millionaire Morning Show and I grew the Millionaire Morning Show. Whereas it may take you 5-6 years in order to get to 50,000, it took me 2 years to get to 100 on a Millionaire Morning Show. And then when I launched Don't Do Coke in the Bathroom, it took me 2 months in order to get to 25,000 subscribers on there. But then the revenue was much bigger on those channels because I then took what it is that I learned from the previous experiences and I applied it to it, right? And so it's not a insult if somebody says, well, it took you 10 years to become a doctor, or 8 years in order to become a software engineer, or you just now getting your degree. I got mine when I was 22, 23 years old. Well, you appreciate it more now because it took a lot more for you to get there. And it actually shows that you better than them because you had the perseverance, the dedication, and the consistency to continue to get there earlier than them in order to be successful. And so whereas other people think that they're insulting you, they're actually giving you a compliment, and it's all based off of perception. And so the thing that I've learned, even in going to private school and middle school, private school, the thing that I learned was that the thing that black people thought, it's not all black people, obviously, but I'm talking about the cultural differences. The thing that black people thought from my neighborhood and from our culture that was an insult to you was actually supposed to be a compliment, but we're so disillusioned and we're so turned around that we think that the thing that they saying negatively in their mind to us is really a compliment. I'll give you an example. They said, Anton, because I went to private school and middle school and my dad made the sacrifice and paid the tuition. They said, Anton, you think you why? Because you talking proper? And then that's supposed to make me feel bad because they saying, duh. Every single sentence, yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Because I was over there, you know what I'm saying? Word to God. You learn how to speak from Wu-Tang, and I actually learned to speak from a professor. And then they said, oh, you look at this stupid little, he talking proper, he is square. Is that supposed to be an insult to me? Thank you. Thank you. Look how long it took him in order to be successful. He failed 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times before he got rich. That's called endurance. That's called being consistent. That's called never giving up. Everybody fails that winds up becoming successful. They just learn how to fail forward and they don't even look at it as failure. They figure out that this is what you're not supposed to do, and then they take the lessons from it and reapply it to something until they wind up breaking down that door and becoming successful. Why is it from a cultural perspective that people think that the things that they're insulting you with, even though you're more successful than them, even though you have more money, even because you got a better family unit, you've been married for, why would I listen to Anton? He only been married for 2 decades. Hoppo, who is these niggas? Y'all got to stop being so thin-skinned. Y'all got to stop being so thin-skinned. The thing that they think that they're using to insult you is the thing that you should be holding on to as a badge of honor and posting on your wall and saying, look, I've been married for 20 years since I was 22 years old. I don't have a broken family. Look, I built multiple successful businesses, even though they said that I was going to be dead at 18 and 21 years old. I survived. I thrived. And now I can get information to somebody else. Look, I've risen to the top of corporate America. Yeah, it took me a little. Oh, look, you just a house nigga. You sold out and you was kissing butt. Whereas they think it's kissing butt, I call it networking effectively. Everything that anybody says to you that is supposed to be negative, you turn it around into a compliment. Let me say it one more time. Everything that somebody says to you that they is thinking or intending for it to be negative as an insult to you, you turn it around and leverage it as a compliment. People, I'll give you another example. People think that because they make videos about you, for example, on the internet, that is supposed to be a negative thing. As a matter of fact, one thing that I learned from Kevin Samuels is he said, listen, that's the thing that you want because it keeps your name in an algorithm and it actually promotes you. So they're doing you a favor. Don't stop them. Don't get mad because somebody is mad at you or they make a video about you. That's the thing that continues to promote you. That's the thing that makes you more relevant. Charleston White came through and he gave me the sauce too. He confirmed what Kevin Samuels told me a long time ago. He said, Anton, I love that shit. I love it. I look for it. That's the thing that I search for. He said, I don't watch nothing else but me on the internet and search to figure out what it is that people are talking about me. That is the thing that's most important to me. The very thing that they think is negative is actually a positive. And so you turn everything around into working for your benefit. That's what smart people do. That's what the people that are not a part of this cultural norm understand. It's not negative, it's positive if you know how to use it properly in order to propel you to be successful. Calm down, Tiger. Don't trip out. Don't flip out. Don't jump off the bridge. Don't start feeling a certain type of way. Use that to drive you. Use it to negatively motivate you in order to continue to thrive and be greater than you were the day before. Continue to make incremental steps in order to be successful. Stop worrying about what everybody thinks and start using it as your fuel. Start using it as an opportunity. Start using it as a badge of honor because the very thing that they champion as broke people is the very thing. Listen, if they could be you, they would trade shoes with you in 5 minutes. I guarantee you. If they could take your spot, if they could possibly even remotely get close to you, they would. How do I know this? Because every time that I go to their cities and I run into them, they say, they start cheesing. They cheeks get red. They start blushing. I love what you got going on, fam. I'll be like, man, I seen you make that video. I was just playing, man, trying to get my views up. You know how it is. Okay, cool. Keep doing what you're doing, big dog. Holla at you. It's serious. It's serious. That's what they do. I'm telling you that I've met a lot of these content creators and YouTubers in person unexpectedly. They didn't know I was going to be there. They didn't know I was going to show up. They didn't know that I was actually going to be coming through the door. My name wasn't necessarily on the bill. And I see them and it was like, yeah. They was blushing, cheesing, trying to give me dap, hugs, I seen every last one of their teeth, all 13 of them. Yeah. Some of y'all had some missing teeth. Let's be honest. I seen all 13 of their teeth. I said, oh, they just a little teddy bear. They scared a little old 5'7" Anton. Oh, that's how they are. Nobody says anything negative to you at all. Nobody got no smoke. Ain't nobody. They all cheesing. They fans in real life. Fanned out. Real talk. So anyways, let's get into the show. We cooking today. So I'm about to read the super chats. We cooking today, ladies and gentlemen. We're working today. We not doing nothing but giving you this work. We doing all money talk today. We doing all sourcing through the information and the material to help you to understand where you need to be investing. We doing all unlocking all of your potential when it comes to helping you to understand how it is that you need to look at things from a business perspective. We doing all work as far as understanding things from a real estate, from an investors, from a technology, and from a social perspective. We giving you that work when it comes to getting this money today. This is Money Talk. Thursdays, I plan on dedicating exclusively away from all of the gossip, away from the bullshit, away from the different things that people are doing and got going on in society. And this is where you get that work. Thursdays, every day it comes back to the money, but Thursday specifically is going to get a little bit more heavy because I want to break down things from a business perspective. All right. So if you're not ready to get that work and talk about money, then this ain't the show for you. Come back tomorrow where I'm going to have a smoke show and y'all going to be able to come up on a panel and tell me everything that you want me to know as far as how I'm doing things wrong, as far as getting my marriage together and everything like that. All right. I'm going to let you give me marriage advice. I'm going to let you give me reparations advice. I'm going to help you help me become successful by teaching me how it is that I need to become a millionaire. All right. Y'all can do that tomorrow. But today you're going to get this work. All right. So let me go ahead and check out some of the super chats and the early super chatters. Shout out to David Mosby. Says, what up, fellow bag chasers? We all about that bag with the early 2 ball. Thank you, David Mosby. You are much appreciated. Levi's in the building with the 20 ball. He says, morning fam, and I hope all is well with you, Anton. Life hack. If you look and smell good, you can walk in any hotel and get free breakfast. I like that. I gotta like that. I like that. You can walk into any hotel and get free breakfast. There's a way to check if you stay there or not. That is a fact. Especially at most of the Marriott properties, you can literally go to the Marriott app. That's almost a life hack. You can go to the Marriott app and see which hotel is offering complimentary breakfast in the morning as a result of you staying there. That is an absolute life hack. You are Levi, you giving out the sauce out here. You must be a bag chaser. Shout out to my bag chasers. Pat Forbes says, I'm thinking about getting a Balm and Mercier Riviera as my first luxury watch. What do you think? I think you should probably lean more into getting on the authorized dealers list for, actually, they just had a show in Geneva, watch event where they released all of the new Rolexes, the Tudors, the Omegas. I think that you should probably lean more into, if I'm you, my first watch was a Rolex Submariner. Now, professional watches usually take you 2 to 3 years to get it, but it's worth the wait. It's definitely worth the wait. I would get it new. I would not get it used. I would get it from an authorized dealer. And here's one of the benefits of getting it, right, and getting on a list is because once you get on the list and once you start buying watches, and that's why I buy Omegas. I actually like Omegas. I'm looking at a Tudor. They just came out with new watches. Once you start buying watches, you start to build a relationship with your authorized dealer. And then what happens is it's much more likely for you to get the things that you really want later on because they move you up on the list and they prioritize you. As a matter of fact, when I bought this watch, right, it actually took me a little less than a year. I think it took me 8 months to get this watch, maybe 6 months. But it took me 8 months, I'm going to just say 8 months in order for my watch to come in. And he actually moved me up the list above like 6 other people in order for me to do it because I have a relationship with him and I can call him. I actually got a chocolate rose gold Sky Dweller with a chocolate face on order right now. So that's my next watch. That watch is like 50 something thousand. But even if you're not looking to get, if you don't want to wait or you still want to stay on a waiting list for a Rolex specifically, I would get a Submariner. I would even get possibly get on the list for anything with a fluted bezel from Rolex is also good. Never get anything bust down. Omega is a good watch also. I just purchased an Omega and Tudor if you just don't want to wait because most of the time they have the watch that you want easily available. But I would get a Rolex because it also holds value. And it's something that you can pass on and you will never probably ever get rid of it. So that's a really good question. Ray Sean says, good morning, everyone. And Anton, I appreciate all of the game you give. Consistency is something else. Shout out to you for the 5 ball. Ife, I know you had told me how to pronounce it before, but I am very, very bad. Ife, turn that negative into a positive. Shout out B-Day Countdown 411 and 413. My birthday is April 13th, so shout out to all of the Aries that's in the building. If I messed up your name, I very much apologize. Shout out to Persevere Data TV. He says they show up Snaggletooth. We like our Snaggletooth people too. You can fix that. You can fix that. You can get that fixed. You can get implants and everything. We could fix that. All right, so let's get into the show, y'all. Reading super chats throughout the show. Butterfly Effect says, Anton, you weren't ever a C student. C students don't drop gems like you do. High five to the bag chasers. If you look at my transcripts, I'm going to bring up my transcripts one day. High school's right up the street. I'm going to get my transcripts. I was a C student. I was a C student. It is a fact. I was a C student. Shout out to you. Butterfly Effect. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Also, on top of that, link to the Patreon is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. What I'm trying to figure out, and the reason why I actually haven't posted the exact location, what I'm trying to figure out, and I'm working through Rita, and I'm going to post a poll, not a poll, I'm going to post a feeler inside of the Patreon today. Because I'm trying to understand whether or not y'all want to have a more intimate event. Maybe I can rent out a space, or maybe I can do maybe a large Airbnb with the rooftop on that joint. And then I could just get it all catered. We can get a private chef. We can have a private chef come on and cook up for y'all specifically on what it is that y'all want. Maybe we can have some champagne on our Patreon meetup in early May. So I'm going to do a feeler. I'm thinking about switching up the event style this year, and not just have it to where we have it at vibey type spaces, but that we have private events where we can sit and y'all can kick it with me until maybe, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Then I'm going to kick y'all out. Y'all know how it is. So I might do it a little bit more intimate this year where, I'm going to show y'all what this luxury life is like. Maybe, and then we going to have it at, if we do it, we got to have it with the multiple different rooftops so that we can out here have a good time. Yeah, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Shout out to Eve Evan Trodavino. Says, I made a montage and added music to some of your speeches from 2 days ago. I hope that's fine. Just join the Bag Chasers. Yes, you are more than welcome, especially if you're a bag chaser. You are more than welcome to be able to use that and drop the speech as you see fit, my friend. Have at it. Shout out to all of the bag chasers. Y'all said you would do both a private event, then an after hours. Y'all want to do it. Y'all might have to do your own after hours. I know a lot of y'all be linking up after y'all link up. But yeah, let's get into the show. I got a full show for y'all. And we're going to be cooking up on the money this time. All right. We're going to be cooking up on the money. So, but I want to mine this out, and I want to give you some information so you can make an informed decision as to whether or not you want to invest in Apple. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. I want to give you some opportunity to make an informed decision on whether or not you want to invest in Apple or take this information to better understand what Apple's competitors or who's impacted by the decisions that Apple is making today. So Apple recently entered the buy now, pay later space. Now, what have I been telling y'all? Buy now, pay later is suffering for the consumer, but profitable for the company that then issues the monthly payments for you. Now, why is Apple entering into the buy now, pay later space? We'll get into that in a minute. Let me play this video for y'all so y'all can better understand exactly what's going on.
Apple is shaking up the buy now, pay later industry, unveiling its long-awaited plans to enter the space earlier this week. And that was enough to send Affirm and PayPal shares lower, both initially taking a hit on that news. Paul Golding, Macquarie, a U.S. lifestyle and payments analyst, is here with us to talk about the impact of Apple entering the space. And we also have Yahoo Finance tech reporter Dan Halley joining the conversation. It's great to see you here, Paul. So let's talk about Apple now in the buy now, pay later space. What does that mean for some of its competitors within that industry?
Well, thanks for having me on, first off. What I would say is that the wallet innate nature of iOS, of having the Apple Wallet on there and this product being managed through that interface, does overcome some of the onboarding or customer acquisition hurdle that you might see with other platforms where an app has to be downloaded. But this is, in a sense, a standalone product, aside from all the credentials that you keep in your Apple Wallet and your Apple Wallet balance to the extent that you use it. And so in our view, while the onboarding may have fewer hurdles. Some of the other competing products, which is the context through which we view this, our coverage of Block, for example, and Cash App. Cash App has, in our view, much more breadth to its product lineup. And to that extent, it can not only attract but also retain customers, in our view, around its ecosystem and drive BNPL through that.
BNPL is buy now, pay later. BNPL is an abbreviation for buy now, pay later. It kind of reminds me of when you get into these tech spaces or you get into corporate America and they continue to use all of this lingo in order to confuse you, when in reality, it's a very simple way for them to be able to communicate effectively with each other, so on and so forth, right? But let me tell you what's really happening and what's going on, right? Apple has a threefold strategy as to why it is that they're entering the buy now, pay later space. Okay? A threefold strategy as to why they're entering the buy now, pay later space. Now, here's the other caveat, right? And this is the thing that you need to be paying attention to. How does this affect what it is that you see on the screen right now? Affirm, PayPal, Block. Block was formerly Square, right? These are the other people that are in this space because, ta-da, they want to keep you spending in order to keep you within their first thing that Apple wants to get into is keeping you within their ecosystem. Now, most people don't understand that the reason why a lot of these companies want to get you on board in the very early parts of your journey as becoming an adult. So whether you sign up for a credit card, whether you buy a car, whether you buy a cell phone, right? Whether they can convince your parents to get into the ecosystem, because your parents are then going to be the ones that give you your first cell phone, which then tailor your view towards whatever it is that you think about that particular company. So for example, very rarely do you ever see somebody say, I'm leaving Apple in order to go over to Samsung, or I'm leaving Samsung to go over to Apple. And if they do, oh my God, it is an outroar from anybody that finds out that they switched from a Samsung into an Apple. Because people are loyal. And they're loyal not necessarily because the company is better or anything like that. They're loyal because you then tailor everything that you do to be a part of the ecosystem. So I'll give you an example. Similar to how I just literally dropped that video, and I put that video over into, I say, here, let me quickly airdrop this video in order to make sure that I'm showing y'all what's going on, right? I dropped the video over into my computer, and then I quickly showed you exactly what was happening. One of the reasons why I like it is because I'm literally now a part of the Apple ecosystem, which makes it easier for me to work. I come in, everything automatically uploads into the cloud. I never have to necessarily take my computer home. I go home and I continue to work. If it's something that I miss, oh shoot, let me go ahead and pull that up. I'm a part of its cloud infrastructure and ecosystem. All my phones is now got Apple Pay. I'm able to more easily send money over into my daughter. The whole 9 yards, right? What I'm trying to tell you, thank you, Elliot Jackson. I'm continuing to read super chats throughout the show. What I'm trying to tell you is that the quicker that they can get you immersed within their ecosystem, the less likely you are to leave it. So when you download an app on the phone, when you decide that you want to get a credit card and you want to pay for something, it is a stronger possibility that you're going to use the buy now, pay later system within the Apple ecosystem than you are going to use it with Affirm, PayPal, or Block. Very rarely do people actually leave whatever ecosystem that they are immersed in, or whatever cell phone or whatever car company. A lot of people, if you look at these white people, if they had a Ford truck or their daddy had a Ford truck, then I'm going to drive me a Ford F-150. If you a Chevy man and you a Silverado guy, you a Chevy man all the way up until somehow, some way, somebody convinces you, or you got to have an incredibly bad experience in order to leave that brand. You are loyal. People that have been, it is so hard. I mean, it is the hardest thing for me to get Rita to even look at another car outside of the Tesla. I never thought that my wife would be this crazy. This chick then joined the Tesla Girls group. She got a Tesla t-shirt. I said, if you don't get out of them get from talking to them raggedy hoes on that Tesla group, they don't know nothing. Well, the Susan and the Tesla group said that we can get a better charge, especially when it's cold outside, because Elon Musk recently added a pump over into the system because they have this new engine. I said, you ain't never been interested in no engineering inside of the car. All you wanted to do was get in and go, vroom, vroom. You plug in and then you plug out and then you get in and go. Now all of a sudden, she can't look at nothing but a Tesla. I said, why you want the Model X, Rita? Why you want the new Model X? Because the doors go up in the back. And look at the Falcon Wing doors. I said, yo, you not even sitting in the back. But it's so cool. You know what Elon Musk has coming out? I said, oh my God. This chick has become a cult leader in the Tesla group. A cult leader. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Elon Musk and I love Teslas. But at the same time, this is what I'm telling you. Brand loyalty, becoming a part of the ecosystem. But honey, it's got an automatic download in the software. I said, And then she gonna call me this morning and talk about, do you know where my charger adapter is? I said, what, to your cell phone? No, to my car. That's why I don't know if y'all can hear her laughing in the background. To my car. I said, ooh, don't you listen. You can stay in the Tesla group as long as you don't look like you've been eating hot dogs all day like Susan in the Tesla group. Tesla fan to her life. Let's continue.
Paul, this is Dan. Is there a risk for Apple here, just knowing that, they're being looked at by different regulators around the world as far as antitrust goes, as far as, their control of their platform? This is going to be essentially built in to iOS to a degree. I mean, is that a boon for them as well as a problem?
Well, we don't cover Apple, we cover the payments names. And so I can't speak to the risk specifically to Apple. What I can comment to is something that we wrote about in the context of our coverage of buy now, pay later across Block, and PayPal has Pay in 4 as well. And the commentary from the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau has been that big tech's entry into this product lineup in this product category could lead to some anti-competitive practices. Of course, we're not attorneys to say either way, but
what he's basically talking about as far as the anti-competitive practices is because Apple controls the ecosystem, they then control the level of visibility that other applications potentially have to customers, because now Apple is entering into a space where it's encroaching on other people that have applications within the App Store. Okay, so let's back up for a minute. Let's talk about Apple and big banks, right? Let me tell you why big banks are scared, literally running scared of technology companies like Apple.
When you pay for your morning coffee, do you reach for this or this? This is still what most people prefer, but digital wallets like Apple Pay, Google Pay, and PayPal have become more popular over the last several years, especially for online payments. And that's making the banks whose cards are in your physical wallet worried. As Chase CEO Jamie Dimon said about the growth of new financial technology in 2021,
absolutely, we should be scared about that.
And Apple is one of big banks' biggest threats.
Literally, every single thing that my daughter does is through Apple Pay. I mean, the Ubers that she catch, the stuff that she orders online. I mean, technology companies literally have trained, because I'm gonna just be honest with y'all, they not thinking about y'all millennials and Gen Xers and all of this other, and the boomers and all of that. They not checking for y'all. They worried about the next generation of people. They know who their target consumer is. They're training the next generation of buyers to go about making purchases a specific way because it then immerses them as a part of their ecosystem. And when I go into somewhere, right, if I order my DoorDash, the first thing I do is I use Apple Pay for almost, I would say at least 90 to 90%, 95% of all purchases. I use Apple Pay. I use it in order to make my payments. For if I'm ordering some tickets or if I'm looking to do whatever. The only thing that I don't use Apple Pay for is, I don't know, consumers energy, my electric bill and my gas bill, the rent that I pay for this place. That's the only thing that I don't use Apple Pay for. The rent that I pay for the office, electricity, and gas bills. Everything else, phone bills, AT&T. Oh, by the way, I did change my phone number too, because I can't be having the Dusties have my phone number. So we went ahead and got rid of that. But if they can get you as a part of their ecosystem, when you think about a car company, usually what they drop is they drop a Halo car, right? And so from the very beginning, and one of the reasons why I'm ordering this new Lamborghini that's coming about is because when they drop that Halo car, it then immerses you as a part of it sears into your mind, listen, that is my dream car. And people grow up with that on their vision board. I mean, I know people with a vision board that have certain cars on there and they live their entire life in order to get that car. And as early as I can remember, I've always wanted a Lamborghini Countach or a Diablo. I've always wanted a Lamborghini. Now I'm in a space where I'm willing to wait 1, 2, 3 years in order to have it delivered and pay upwards of $600,000 in order to have that car because it's been seared into my head and it's been a part of my bucket list in order to get this car.
Here's how the tech company is encroaching on traditional finances territory and how banks are gearing up to fight back.
We've created an entirely new
Look at the date.
Payment.
September 9th, 2014. September 9th, 2014.
Process. And we call it Apple Pay.
When Apple Pay was introduced in 2014, it wasn't the first digital wallet, but it had a big advantage over its competitors, the iPhone. And now Apple Pay is activated on 78% of iPhones in the US.
If you want to use an iPhone in store, it's very difficult to use a different wallet, like when you tap and pay at the register, than Apple Pay.
It was also the only digital wallet that banks agreed to pay a fee for every transaction. Here's why. Banks make money on debit and credit card purchases from interchange fees, which merchants pay to the bank that issued your card when you shop with it. Those fees are usually 1 to 3% of your purchase when you shop with a credit card. So if you buy that coffee for $5 and your credit card has a roughly 2% interchange fee, the bank gets about 10 cents. But if you use Apple Pay, the bank has to pay 3/4 cent to Apple. Rather than pocketing 10 cents on the $5 transaction, the bank would instead keep just over 9 cents. On one small transaction, that doesn't seem like much, but it adds up. Apple took in an estimated $782 million from Apple Pay last year.
Let's talk about this, y'all. We get into the money today. I know it's not messy. I know it's not talking about other people. I know it's not getting to other people's takes. But let's look at this for a minute. Apple last year took in the equivalent of $782 million just in a transaction fee from people using Apple Pay. That ain't got nothing to do with the Apple Card. That ain't got nothing to do with the Apple credit card. That don't have nothing to do with the current buy now, pay later launching that they've recently done. This is literally just about transaction fees. Basically making it easier for consumers to be able to use the cards instead of using cash or using a credit card or a debit card. Now, why is this important? Why are we talking about this, right? Because we're also talking about buy now, pay later. We've already did live streams on that. Why is this important? Because from an investor's perspective, right? Listen to me. And this is a C student talking here. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just giving you the game. From an investor's perspective, this shows the strong willpower and the opportunity cost from a company's perspective, and that when they release a product back in 2014 and now we in 2023, 9 years later, and they're generating the equivalent of almost $1 billion a year just from transaction fees, and that has nothing to do with their services division in its entirety, it shows you where the growth opportunities lie within Apple, right? Because it's not about selling iPhones. It's about getting you immersed in the ecosystem in order to make sure that A, you never leave, and then B, they can continue to grow the division of the company that has the highest margins as far as how much it costs in order to be able to push out a product versus how much money that they can make from it. And then on top of that, right, the highest margins, and it's where the most growth is within the company. So I'll give you an example, right? When you're dealing with making an iPhone, or you trying to, when investors specifically and shareholders, the people that are invested in this company, when they look at these things, right, and they say, listen, how many iPhones have you sold? How many iPhones have you sold? And then we say, oh, they sold this many this quarter, this many this quarter. And then usually what they'll say is, okay, what is it compared to last quarter and then the quarter the same time this year? And then what is the context? Now, the reason that the context matter is, for example, let's say, during the pandemic, you sold this many or you sold this many. It's similar to like Peloton or even Netflix, right? Peloton, during the pandemic, they boomed. And then their stock price went through the roof. Because what happened was they accelerated growth because everybody was home, but everybody still wanted to exercise or go to the gym, or they thought that they was going to be working from home forever. So everybody bought a Peloton at the same time. But then there was no room for growth. So they did like this, and then they started doing like this. What investors want to see is this, because it then shows that the company is still making money and there's an opportunity cost that goes along with it, right? And so when the market was fully full in the United States of America with iPhones, then then shareholders or analysts says, okay, where's the growth opportunities? Then they had to expand over into China, and then they had to go over to India, and then they had to battle over here, and then they had to offer, cheaper iPhones or whatever in order to continue to have that upline growth, right? But then let's back up for a minute. And then what happens when the market is fully mature? Well, you got one or two options. The first option is you can continue to try to battle for market share by trying to take it away from all of the other phone makers. Google, they got whatever their new phone or whatever. Samsung, you can continue to fight for market share, and then you got to have price cuts and incentives, and then AT&T, when a new phone comes out, then you can finance the half of it and get it for free and all of that in order to switch over to iPhone, and we'll give you this amount of money if you switch over from this carrier. Man, you can battle for market share, right? Because growth is not just with the product itself, but growth is also with the profitability in other segments of your business. And so what Apple did was they said, listen, we always gonna have a lot of money that we making from the iPhone because A, we gonna drive costs out of it. And the longer that we manufacture it and the more that we make of it, the cheaper it becomes for us to be able to make that phone, right? But more importantly, where can we make more money as far as to satisfy our shareholders as far as continuing to grow the company? And they said, Apple Pay, Apple Arcade, Apple Fitness Plus, Apple Music. And so now the growth in the company and the fastest growth is in health services and then the services industry itself that they're providing to the customers. And so now the goal is to make you become a part of the ecosystem. They don't necessarily care as much about you spending and buying money buying the Apple Pro versus the regular iPhone 14 or whatever like that. They care more about you becoming an Apple customer because it then makes you a part of the ecosystem, which the potential for them to be able to push services over to you is exponentially higher. Because very few people that I know, and let me show you how it affects other businesses. Remember back in the day when we used to say, if you're going to get a phone, make sure you get insurance on it. And usually when you got insurance on that phone, you got it through your phone carrier. You got to AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, all of that other type of stuff, right? They sold you extra services in order to improve their bottom line for something that they knew potentially you would never even replace. You just hold on to it just in case something ever happens to it. But they make way more money in the end. But then Apple came along and they said, listen, let me offer you Apple Care Plus. Now you have a decision to make. You can decide to say, listen, I want to continue to go with this trash ass insurance with AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, or I can just have Apple Care. I can have Apple Care Plus. And then Apple Care Plus allows for, and if anything was to ever happen to your phone or you break it or whatever, you can just trade it in and get a new one. Now, how does that benefit Apple, right? Well, they get a lot of that money every single month because you're paying a monthly subscription for it, or you can pay it all the way up, or you can pay it ahead of time. Or you also have to take into consideration that the cost for Apple to be able to manufacture these products, including the screens, replace your phone, so on and so forth, the majority of it is only baked into the actual labor that it takes to replace what it is that you have happening with your phone. And so it costs them less. They can offer a better service. And then people want just one easy way for them to be able to see, pay, and look to see what's going on. And so it continues to improve what's going on in the services division because it's top line growth that they can then satisfy their shareholders. So when you see the $782 million number, right, you're understanding that this number is only coming as a result of payment processors using Apple Pay via whatever debit or credit card that you have inside of your wallet in order to make a transaction, because they're making it easier for you to spend more money. And so they got to pay Apple to be a part of that ecosystem in order to continue to survive. Are you following what I'm saying? I know it's a lot going on. You may have to rewind it, but I'm trying to tell you how to look at things from an investment or business perspective. It's not just what you see it's not how many iPhones you sell, right? When you look at these analysts or these quarterly calls and these earning reports, you have to understand what you're looking at. You got to understand why they're getting into the buy now, pay later ecosystem, because they can't afford not to, considering that they want to take market share away from not only Samsung and Google, but they want to take market share away from Block, PayPal, all of these different payment processors. They want everything. They want you a part of the ecosystem. They want you a part of the services division. They want you to have a MacBook Pro computer, which I have right here, right? If I start looking around, I start realizing that, man, I'm more a part of a lot of ecosystems than I realize. I'll give you another tip, right? I'll give you another tip. I'm talking to you on a Sony a6100 camera. A Sony a61 camera is what it is that we live streaming on. Did you know that Sony also makes the majority of the lenses that's inside of the iPhone? It's not just PlayStations. It's not just you buying the game off of your PlayStation, which then puts out of business whoever it is that's selling games, because nobody actually goes into the door and buy discs or CDs anymore in order to install a game. No. Microsoft and PlayStation is now becoming a part of an ecosystem in which we know that most times if you sign up for an Xbox or you sign up for a PlayStation, it is very rare that you see somebody split off and say, I'm switching over and getting a PlayStation, or I'm switching over and getting an Xbox. So they have to catch you early. Microsoft does the same thing, right? When they swallowed up LinkedIn and they bought LinkedIn, they didn't buy LinkedIn just from a profitability perspective. They're buying LinkedIn because they want you to become a part of the ecosystem. When they start introducing ChatGPT, right, and now they made it a part of Bing, they're trying to gobble up market share from Google, which then forces Google to respond with their own artificial intelligence system, right? When you look at Xbox and you say, hey, what the heck is going on, right? I'm buying a game, my kid is gaming. No, your kid is actually subscribing to OneDrive, which is powered by Microsoft's Azure, which is a competitor to Amazon Web Services, and also Oracle, Google's Cloud, so on and so forth. The war is not just with the gaming systems. The war is with the ecosystem in which they're trying to immerse you in, because they're taking market share in a different segment of their business away from that particular competitor. I'm teaching you how to think. I'm teaching you how to see things from a business perspective in order to make more informed decisions, not only from what it is that you purchase, but also how it is that you operate, even from a business perspective, right? When you look at Apple, when you look at Microsoft, when you look at PlayStation, when you look at any one of these companies, when you look at Sony, Sony is now partnering with, I believe, Honda in order to be able to build cars. Why are they building cars? Why is Apple even looking to get into the car business? Because Apple understand the services industry and making you immersed in an ecosystem, not necessarily selling you tires and cars. Tesla even told you they are not a car company. They are a technology company. They are not a car company. They are a technology company. When you look at Ford Motor Company, when you look at General Motors, when you look at the losses that they're willing to incur in order to build out this services division or the EV division of their company, they're not doing it because they truly look at themselves as car companies anymore. They're adapting, they're evolving in order to survive and then possibly thrive and becoming a technology company. They're hiring more software engineers than they are mechanical engineers inside of these companies because they understand exactly where the market is going. Let me play a little bit more of this.
Initially, it was like, well, better to be on board with this and have our cards used on Apple Pay than be cut out completely, because if we don't play ball, what could happen? Could Apple develop some other mechanism that cuts out cards?
Fees
Reading super chats throughout the show. Give me a minute.
collects from Apple Pay only make up about 1% of the company's revenue from services. That includes things like the App Store, Apple Music, and iCloud. But
look at what I'm teaching you. That $782 million and growing only makes up 1% of what Apple defines in their earnings call as the services division. Let me blow this up for y'all a little bit so hopefully you see it. Apple Care, 4%. iTunes, 6%. iCloud, 13%. Apple Music, 16%. Licensing in Google is 20%. Why? Because Google has to then pay Apple, a percentage of the profits that come along with when you launch Safari or when you launch a specific browser on your iPhone, and then you search Google, and then you make your transactions or you make your decisions from there. I bet you didn't know that. I bet you didn't know that Apple has a partnership with Google in which Google are willing to pay them an egregious amount of money in order for it to be the default browser or the default search engine so that they can continue to compete against Microsoft's Bing. Licensing. Now, how do we then adapt that to what it is that we do? Did you know that a lot of content creators and YouTubers, including myself, make a percentage of their revenue off of licensing out their content to different entities that then make an inquiry of whether or not they can actually use your content, which is one of the reasons why it's important for you to make original content, along with content from other creators. Licensing makes up literally a fifth of Apple's services revenue, because Google is willing to pay them billions and billions of dollars every year. Now, do you see why it's so important for them to immerse you within their ecosystem, regardless of whatever carrier that you're going with? The App Store, meaning the fees that come along with, or what they charge for you to actually get a percentage, similar to what YouTube takes off the top for you to actually rock out with what it is that we doing as content creators. Apple Pay, 1%. So take that 1%, multiply it by 782 million, and then you'll see exactly what's being generated on a regular basis as far as revenue for the services division, and growing. We doing money talk today. No gossip, no bullshit, all money talk today.
But that number is growing. It's estimated that the amount Apple Pay collected nearly doubled between 2020 and 2022.
Look at the numbers. What did I tell y'all from the very beginning? Growth. That is what investors is looking for. They're willing to deal with, okay, it's just maintaining slight growth, slight downtrend, and what it is that you're selling from iPhones. If they can continue to see where the growth opportunities are, which is where the investment opportunities are, long term, when you're making these plays, listen, stop being a day trader, stop being all of this other type of shit day traders lose on a regular basis, okay? When I make a decision to invest in a company, I'm looking at the 10-year view. What is this company going to be like in 10 years? I'm not going to break down the 8 things that I look for. That video is inside of the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. When I'm making a decision on what I'm going to invest in and what companies that I actually champion and love the most, it comes from insight, information, research, and so many other different factors. And I do a video inside of the Patreon. Make sure y'all watch that. Don't just look at the interviews. Don't just look at the webinars. Don't just look at the mastermind sessions. Look at the individual videos in which I break down how it is that I go about living my life so I can make an informed decision on whether or not I should invest in this company. It's not just based off of the name. There's a real calculation and a real business model behind how I go about approaching what company I want to stay invested in long term. Okay? Look at the growth. Look at the growth. This is since 2015. Look at that growth. That's sexy to me. Fuck these bitches. Fuck the hoes. Fuck this chick that's walking down Miami Beach with her ass out. That ain't sexy to me. You know what's sexy to me? That fucking graph. Listen, I know I'm a nerd. I'm a C student nerd. I'm one of the dumber nerds. But I'm telling you that this graph could quite possibly be one of the sexiest things that I've seen all year long. All 2023. The baddest chick that I done seen is this this estimated Apple Pay revenue. Fuck what Rita talking about over there. She and all of that. Listen, the thing that is sexy to me, y'all can have these modern women. Y'all can have these hoes. It ain't nothing sexier than me than looking at a graph where I see it going like this. I'm like, ooh, start rubbing my nipples. Start rubbing my nipples. I find Patreon to be really clunky also. Although we still got to host it until we finish building out the platform that I'm going to release to y'all that I think is going to be much, much better in the future. Don't worry, we're still working on it. It ain't nothing sexier than seeing a graph that goes up. Y'all can have these women. Y'all can have everything that go along with these hoes for the streets. It ain't nothing sexier than seeing an opportunity.
It's not just money that banks are losing to Apple. It's name recognition.
It's not good enough for the banks to be the underlying card that's used on one of these third-party wallets. Their concern is that once you lose that entire experience, it's just a slippery slope from there, where eventually you'll have a tech company that is actually the lender, and they don't need you behind the scenes.
And Apple Pay isn't the end of Apple's ambitions with consumer payments.
But we want to take the Apple Pay experience even further.
In 2019, it partnered with Goldman Sachs to create the Apple Card. And in March, it began rolling out its own Buy Now, Pay Later program. Apple's subsidiary, Apple Financing LLC, will be...
So we're going to leave it there, y'all. We're going to leave it there. I don't want to bombard y'all with information because what I found is that when you give people too much information, they don't remember anything. Because I don't want to just entertain you. I want to give you the information that you need in order to be successful. We definitely going to continue to mine out the opportunities. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Make sure you tap into the Discord that's also associated with a Patreon. And any of the most recent videos, click the link in the description and you'll get the link to the Discord and we're going to rock out. All right. But more importantly, I'm trying to teach y'all how to think. I'm about to read these super chats. I don't want y'all to just look at things based off of what they telling you or they just throw up some random stat. When you learn how to think, you start moving more intentionally, and then you can translate that into every other aspect of business within your life, all right? Let me go ahead and rewind this a little bit so that we can start getting into these super chats, and then we're going to go into the next segment. Dame Dash says, visit Dr. Umar's school. No, I'm not about to be trolling and visiting Dr. Umar's school, but thank you for the two-ball. I appreciate you. Elliot Jackson is in the building. Elliot says, taking 2 weeks off of my job to work solely on my business. Also, using that time to determine when I can leave financially. Or I may take a chance on myself before. Thank you for the confidence. Also, 7 days until my B-Day. Shout out to all of the Aries that's in the building. Let me give you a little bit of advice to go along with that, big dog. Can I give you a little bit of game? When you guys make a decision or you grow in your business or you continue to evolve, remember what the goal and the opportunity is. The goal and the opportunity is to make more money because money is a Swiss Army knife. It's a tool that allows for you to be more and more successful, right? So the goal isn't to create another job for yourself in order to be able to not call yourself a worker. The goal is to make as much money as possible in order to be able to enable you to do the things that you really want to do. So when you're thinking about or you're planning for your future, I want you guys to more or less focus more on how it is that you can generate more assets and investments instead of figuring out how y'all can quit your job. Because when you figure out how you can make money without necessarily having to go to work, that's the thing that you then need to focus on, right? That's the thing that you want to do. You want to, on average, and I don't mind saying these figures because I actually be showing the numbers inside of the Patreon. On average, I make $39,100 in profit, net cash flow, profit, not gross, profit from my rental income. Rental income every single month, I make $39,100. Now, that has nothing to do with me actually owning an asset. That's how much I make per month from this collection of assets, right? Now, here's the key. Here's the key. My goal wasn't to create another business in order to make sure that I didn't need my job. My goal was to generate enough revenue on a monthly basis to where I don't need to do anything if anybody says anything to me. You can't cancel me because I'm not worried about what happens to me financially because I continue to acquire assets that then roll over and generate more income. So I don't want y'all to just think from a worker's perspective. Just because you start a business don't mean that you're not thinking from a worker's perspective. I want you to think in terms of net worth, assets, generating revenue. How is it that you can then enable yourself to no longer be tethered to or tied to so that you then have clarity in making a better decision on what it is that you want to do from a financial perspective? Eventually, the goal is to grow it into the point to where I want to be generating $300,000 a month off of certain revenue on things that I don't have to necessarily touch or maintain on a regular basis. Now, my question then becomes, how is it that, remember this is the question that you want to ask yourself. How much in assets do I need to have in order to generate X amount of revenue? And whatever that number is, it could be $10,000, $100,000, $300,000 in my case. How many assets do I need in order to generate $300,000 in revenue on a monthly basis in order to be able to maintain whatever type of lifestyle I want to maintain for the rest of my life? That is the thing that you want to generate. So every dime that you make, every piece of monies that you make, it needs to be plowed. And this is the reason why I'm so against debt. Because you're not trying to create another job for yourself. Plow it into informed decisions as to what it is that you want to do from a financial perspective or from an investment perspective so that you can have every employee working to make more money for you. Every employee is an employee, and employees need to be bringing more employees. And so everything you do, it needs to be focused on getting more revenue and getting more assets that then generate more revenue. And it may seem small, but it snowballs. So remember that. Just remember that, y'all. All right. I don't want y'all to get confused as to what the real goal is. The goal is to remove the rocks from your backpack as you continue to climb Mount Everest, right? The rocks in your backpack is the debt. You can run much faster and you can buy more and do more as far as making the investments and the things that you need to invest in when you don't have to give your money away to the shit that don't matter, right? The second step is to get out of survival mode. The third step is to get past thrive mode. And then the fourth step is to get to the point to where you can actually be a philanthropist and do the things that you really want to do on a regular basis. All right. Let me continue to read these super chats. Elliot Jackson, shout out to you, big dog. Thank you for the 20 ball. I just want to say I appreciate you. Derek T says with the 5 ball, my friend uses buy now, pay later. I told her although it's 0%, it's a known fact that people spend 50% more if they can split it into payments. And that is a fact. Part of the finesse of the credit card companies is that they give you the access to do the things that you wouldn't normally do if you only had to pay for it in cash. Why do you think that you got to trade your money in for chips in a casino? That's a good point, Derek. You're absolutely right. Jake Fever says, Elliot Cap, he turning. B-Day 7 days away. Shout out to you for the 2 ball. Danzyland de Soleil says, bring MOB back. Money over because they breed in V. Rule 2, watch your homies. Keep your enemies close, nigga. Watch for phonies. It seemed a little unimportant when he told me I smile. I never knew in my lifetime I lived by these rules. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it is. If you know, you know. If anybody can name that, let me know in the chat what's the name of that song. Money over bitches because it breed and be. Rule 2. It's a harsh one. Watch for phonies. Keep your enemies close, nigga. Watch for homies. It seemed a little unimportant when he told me I smile. Let me continue to read these super chats. We got to get through this, y'all. I got more game that we got to go through today. Real Bravado Network says, not the nipple rub. You a fool with the 20 ball. It's against all odds. Shout out to Centennial G, Tupac, against all odds. Only my real motherfuckers, bro, be the truest ever, bro. Against all odds. Yep, Machiavelli album. Shout out to you, and shout out to Real Bravado Network for the 20 ball. Nenga Iboko says, new subscriber, glad to be here, and I'm glad to have you here. Thank you. Thank you for rocking out with us. I appreciate you, and thank you for the 10 ball, my friend. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Colorado Rick says, how you feel about selling covered call options? I hate options. I genuinely hate options. And y'all want to go over that? I can break that down. Or maybe I should do a Patreon exclusive video. I don't like options. I don't like covered call options at all. Philip Sadiq with the 10 ball. Thank you for dropping off as usual. Ali G says, I never finished college, but I'm scheduled to go to school. 17 APR for IT and cybersecurity. I'm tech illiterate. Is this a good idea? I'm using MGIB. Nobody is tech illiterate. Nobody is tech illiterate. I don't believe that anybody is tech illiterate. I think that people look at it as challenging because they're not familiar with or they're not educated on what it is that they're doing. Nobody is tech illiterate. Don't ever say that. You're not tech illiterate. You're not tech illiterate, okay? You just have not applied yourself yet. It's similar to when people tell me, listen, I'm not good at math. I bet you can count money fast. I bet you start doing mental math when they run your bill up at a restaurant and you got some stuff on your bill because you can notice that, hey, this is a little high. You start looking at it a little bit differently. You're not bad at tech illiterate. You're just not familiar. So you just got to apply yourself and you got to start immersing yourself in the thing that means the most to you. Shout out to Elliot Jackson says, it's a real estate business doing numbers for the people who have the money and not the time. 2% per property and fees for me. Then 40 to 80% in monthly revenue depending on the partner I work with. You're going to have to give me a little bit more insight. Send me an email on that and we can go over it. I can look at it exactly what it is that you're talking about because I need more information on what's going on. Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com. Let's get it popping. All right, so the rise of luxury apartments. If there's one thing that I love talking about more than money specifically, it's real estate. It's one thing I like talking about more importantly than money specifically itself, just the money itself, is real estate. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me give a shout out to a couple of people also that hit me off with some cash apps. I want to make sure I'm acknowledging everybody. Jerian is in the building with the 7 ball. I appreciate you. Mike, that dude, I appreciate you also with the 5 ball. And Drury says, for preach on, my brother, inspiring words you drop. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you for everybody that hold us down. Let's get into it. I want to talk about the rise of luxury apartments. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get it popping.
The U.S. is in a rental housing crisis.
So we pay $3,060 per month. If I'm really honest, I don't think it's a very good value for money.
How many people have seen these type of apartments and these rows of apartments popping up in a city, popping up in the cities that you visit or whatever? It's not uncommon for you to pay $3,000 plus a month for a luxury apartment. Let me say that again. It's not uncommon for you to pay $3,000 plus a month, depending on what city you're in. Now, if you're in New York, that's a whole nother conversation. Los Angeles, we know that it's a whole nother conversation. But can you imagine paying $3,000 plus a month for a luxury apartment? Hold on to that thought.
Home builders believe the sector is already in a recession, and experts are calling out laws that make building expensive.
40% of the cost of multifamily development is in regulation. We have to do something about that if we're going to build more housing.
Developers have a really hard job, and they regularly work magic.
In major cities like Washington, D.C., developers are working with limited space.
Most parts of this country have exclusionary zoning. The only thing you can build there is single-family homes, often on pretty large lots.
But in the parts of town where big buildings are allowed,
you see a lot of cranes going up. Those cranes are going to build high-rise luxury apartments.
And in fact, this year we're going to see some of the largest number of apartments delivered in the luxury sector than in history, literally.
Why are there so many new luxury apartments? And what could the government do to get more affordable housing onto the market?
Now, if y'all looking for affordable housing, wait on it. The only way that you ever going to really get affordable housing on a mass scale is to move into the hood. Let me say it again for the people that's in the back. The only way that you're going to get affordable housing on a mass scale, because nobody gives a fuck about people that's not paying, because the government is not the ones that invest in real estate. It is developers. And what developers are looking for is the same thing that people that are investing in Apple stock is looking for, a return on their investment. And so the only way that you're ever going to get, let me say it again, the only way that you're ever going to get affordable housing is to move into a very, very undesirable neighborhood and then wait on it. It's just a fact.
When it comes to city real estate, the biggest luxury is location.
If you can just walk from your apartment into a metro station and head on about your day, that's pretty great.
That is the thing that a lot of people don't understand, because that's what you're paying for. And a lot of this came from DC and New York, right? Because what people realize, and what my homie did, I remember, shout out to my dog Julian Rooks. Julian Rooks, a long time ago, we was actually both working at Rouge Steel. Back when we was like 18, 19 years old, we both had got into the plant. We was killing it. We was making a lot of money. Julian wound up leaving and going over to New York. And what he did was he sold his car. And he justified the cost of it. And this is in the early 2000s. He justified the cost of it because he said, listen, I ain't got to pay no car insurance. I ain't got to pay no car note no more. I ain't got to do no maintenance. I ain't got to pay for gas. And so when he started calculating the cost of it, and then he started taking into consideration what the lifestyle was supposed to be that he wanted, he said, listen, I can be more immersed in the culture of what it is that I really want to see, instead of being separated from it and then paying for all of these other things in order to get to it when I really want to go over there. And so if I want to live there as a single young man, then I'm going to have to give up something and make a sacrifice. And that is what a lot of these pitches are coming from, right? They're coming into play because a lot of people are more focused on lifestyle than they are on what the bang is for their buck or what it is that they're getting for their money. So for example, right here in downtown Detroit, and real estate is booming, meaning that you cannot build enough down here in downtown Detroit. They have the Hudson site, which is going to be one of the largest buildings that is built here in Michigan and specifically in downtown Detroit, going up. And I am literally waiting for my unit to become available because I plan on moving into it because it's right in the center of downtown. Why? Because I've always dreamed of living a New York lifestyle, but I was unwilling to leave Detroit because this is where my home is and this is where I'm going to be immersing myself in the culture as far as always giving back into the community. So when they announced that they were actually building the Hudson Center, I said, oh my God, that is perfect, because now I truly get to immerse myself in the way that I usually do when I'm living in or I'm going to visit New York, right? I can live, work, and play all in the same area. And as a matter of fact, I don't even need a car if I don't want a car, right? Most of the people that I know, they walk to work, they walk to the gym, they walk to the grocery store. They're getting back to the thing that made it that makes it attractive to live in an urban area. If a Pistons game is, they'll walk to the Pistons game. They walk over into the ice skating rink. They walk to the restaurant. They go and interact with their friends. They walk to the park. They do different things that's going on in the city. And so that is what developers are banking on and depending on in order to get people to move into these luxury apartments. And then you get to also live a maintenance-free lifestyle. So that is the attraction to it from a lot of people's perspective, right? The maintenance, the water heaters, the property taxes, all of that other bullshit, people don't want to deal with it. They just want to make it really clean and easy, which is something that I love to do, which is why I then live. Yes, I did order a Lamborghini. It's supposed to be here in 3 years. That is going to be a car. That's my dream car. I got to have it, which is one of the things that I wanted to do. And so the places that I own, I rent out to other people, and then the lifestyle that I live is completely different. But let's continue.
Here's a look inside of one new development in the city.
Right now, we are in the Ballpark District of Washington, D.C., one of the emerging neighborhoods that is downtown adjacent. And this neighborhood has gone through a tremendous transformation over the last 20 years as part of an overall plan to create an extraordinary place. This building was completed in 2020.
Reading Super Chat shortly. Thank you, guys.
And this is the Kelvin Apartments, which is 300.
Somebody said, how's Detroit's public transit? I actually literally just caught the Q line to the office today. I was walking over and I caught the Q line to the office today. That's how I was recording everything that was going on in downtown Detroit. Thank you, Justin. I'm definitely going to be reading the Super Chat shortly.
12 apartments, over about 60,000 square feet of retail, adjacent to our sister building, which is the NV condo, which is 127 condos.
This development is currently valued at roughly $230 million.
Transit-oriented development creates the best outcomes overall because of the proximity to jobs, the proximity to educational opportunities, but is also the most difficult. You're creating not only deep foundations.
I'm going to show y'all the Lamborghini that I ordered in a minute after I get through with these.
For underground parking. You are often building over metro lines and transit lines. You're also taking care of the neighborhood in terms of its aesthetic.
Living in this lifestyle does cost a premium for the renter. 2-bedroom apartments in this building can rent for over $3,000.
2-bedroom apartment, 2-bathroom. Now I know this is going to make, let me blow this number up for y'all a little bit. I know that's going to make some people upset. 2-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, right in the middle of everything. $3,500. 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. How do y'all feel about that? I'm looking at y'all in the chat right now. How do y'all feel about that? A lot of y'all like, oh no. Look at it. King Collins said, ew. Chester said easily. Big Sug says yes, DC for sure. Arizona seemed to have a lot of affordable houses. Swimlock gave the dead emoji. Glenn Broner said Jesus, that's a lot. Kadash says G's. Swimlock says no. Mel Duke says no way. Arthur says not too bad. It's an easy 1750 split between roomies. It's Black Beauty, but Black Beauty is used to be in New York, so I know she's thinking differently. That's more than what people make in a month. My 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom downtown is $2,300. Decent, couldn't do it. Nope, that's regular for DC. I'm good. Rather pay that as a mortgage than rent, which you can't afford. Which you can afford it. Sounds about right for DC. Outrageous. Y'all feeling some type of way about that. $6,000. Let me tell you what I'm willing to pay. I'm going to tell you what I'm willing to pay. I don't know about this particular place, but for a place that I want to live in, because I always believe, and I've always believed this to my core, you rent where you live and you rent out what it is that you own. So everything that I own, I rent out, and then I want to rent where I want to live at. I've always believed that to my core. A lot of people still ask me, why do I believe that? But we'll get there. Maybe I'll explain it to y'all and I'll go over y'all. For my budget, what I'm willing to spend on a monthly basis for a place that I want to be in at the, with the view that I want and things like that, I'm willing to spend up to $10,000 a month. I'm willing to spend up to $10,000 a month. Now, I don't pay $10,000 a month today. But my budget, I'd be willing to spend up to $10,000 a month for a place that I want to live at, to live, work, and play all in the same area, and if it's ideal. And I mean, it'd have to be basically the best, ideal, whatever. But I'll spend up to $10,000 a month and budget about $120,000 a year if I wanted to do that. I don't mind doing that. So.
Single bedrooms can rent for over $2,000. Perhaps more surprisingly, those prices are technically affordable for 40% of the households in Washington, D.C. And this pattern, where the top 40% of earners can afford housing while others struggle to find affordable housing, can be found in cities across the U.S.
So you often see new housing branded as luxury, in part because it's new. I will say in my personal experience, I've seen pretty high quality, affordable, subsidized housing that could compete with any luxury housing. I've also seen pretty old, tired housing still branded as luxury that,
because you're paying for location.
Housing out there.
Here's another building that was completed in 2009.
With luxury, it's definitely not, but maybe a little bit up standards, like a little bit.
The building has about 300 units and is worth over $129 million.
Appearances-wise, and from the outside, this flat looks amazing. It is amazing, and there's so much light and the location and everything. But then when you actually live here, there's so many tiny things. In total, it's 30 maintenance requests in a year. And
yeah, she got a lemon. You got to actually find a place that's actually good and built well and things like that. That got a really nice security and all of that other type of stuff. But yeah, she's overpaying.
5 months, so it's quite a bit.
Days before this interview, a malfunctioning dishwasher flooded parts of Carolyn's apartment. Building management brought in industrial fans to dry the space.
No, that's not.
It's 75 decibels. I measured it. And it's quite tiring, like your head becomes like this.
Many other tenants have raised concerns with the build quality in this complex, citing thin walls and repeated issues with water and other infrastructure. In a statement to CNBC, the property manager of this building said that occasional maintenance requests will be resolved as quickly as possible.
Every home builder has a list of complaints. Every, landlord in a multifamily apartment, you can Google and find, complaints against literally any landlord out there. But I've been to a lot of these communities and
nope, I've never had a tenant ever complain about anything in any of my houses. I've never had a tenant, not one tenant, ever complain about anything that's going on in any of my houses. Not one tenant. I've never had a complaint, ever. But if you're paying that type of money, if you're paying $3,000, if you're paying $1,000 a month, you should not be dealing with anything maintenance related, which is one of the reasons why you go into a luxury, quote unquote, luxury apartment in the first place.
And those communities are beautiful, and they have all kinds of amenities like a swimming pool and a gym. And because these are large-scale communities, that means that the landlord has a large-scale service, usually on site.
Some of what's happening here is related to changes in the real estate business nationwide.
What we've seen in the last 10 to 15 years is that developers used to get capital, develop a property, and maybe sell it as condos or have it as rentals, and they would hold on to the property. But right now we're seeing real estate developers with a different model, where they're building a property then to quickly sell it off to a real estate investment trust. So it's sort of build to sell as opposed to build and hold.
Which the difference is that then they cut corners and they looking to get a quick flip, which then prevents them from actually putting the level of effort that they're supposed to put into in order to ensure that it's actually a quality place for people to live. They're cutting corners and they basically flipping real estate in order to get a real estate holder to buy and purchase the property for them. And so they do the minimum amount possible in order to pass all inspections and things like that. I've never dealt with that. I've never had that problem in any place that I've ever stayed at. I've never had a problem like that. I've never had thin walls. I've never had to worry about it. And so, but yeah, that is a thing. That's an issue.
When you build a property and then sell it to a real estate investment trust that is controlled by Wall Street, it puts a lot of pressure on the tenants. Some of the rental crisis that we have in terms of unaffordable rental market right now is somewhat related to this new model of build to sell and sell to Wall Street.
But that's the high end of the market. When it comes to more affordable housing, the government typically plays a much bigger role.
If you look back historically, there's always some balance of public and private involvement. We run into challenges when whoever's owning and running the housing either isn't well capitalized or isn't properly motivated.
Now, the government's using a tax credit to encourage more building.
So the loan
So we don't need to get into that aspect of it. The point that I'm making is that everything is being deemed and termed luxury or luxury apartments or luxury holdings, or you would have, you can easily live, work, and play all in the same area. But be careful, right? I think that what people don't understand that say, well, you can get this or you can stay there. This is happening all across the United States of America. I don't care where you go. I don't care if you go to Ohio. I don't care if you down in Florida. I don't care if you in Texas. Everything is being outsized, and the middle class is completely being priced out. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. People think that they're safe. You're not safe. You know why people are deciding to get relationships and get into marriages today? They're not doing it for the same reasons that they used to do it in yesteryear. They're doing it because they need somebody else to carry a percentage of the burden that comes along with holding on to that particular mortgage, or, for them to be able to survive, or maybe they can split their costs in half. Women today, even men today, I hear them say it all the time. They say, yo, I'm not, my partner. Their partner, meaning that they're willing to share in whatever it is that costs, and then hopefully get some benefit out of it, including maybe a little bit of box, maybe a little bit of head, so on and so forth. But people are saying my partner now. They're not saying my husband, my wife, or the person that I love and stuff like that. They're saying, listen, what do you bring to the table? That term was not coined as a result of somebody getting swindled by another person that they were married to, as far as in a relationship where they're getting their heart hurt. That term was coined because people are starting to look at everything from a business perspective, whether they know it or not, because they're trying to look at the cost-benefit analysis of getting into a relationship with you. Okay, well, if I take care of you, or you living in this house with me, what is it that you contributing into this house? Or what is it that I'm getting out of it as a result of it? And so what I'm telling you is that now we've gotten to the point in society where you can't afford to not live on your own, even if you're not in a relationship. Most of y'all got a roommate, or you got somebody that you're rolling with, or you might even be in a relationship that you're just unwilling to leave because it's costing you too much to be able to live on your own. And you did the research, and you see how much it's costing out here. And in order for you to survive, it's a completely different conversation. It's the truth. It's the truth. So let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to get it popping. Thank y'all for continuing to contribute to the platform. Drew says, this is why you buy an investment in property in desirable area when it's cheap, and then turn it into a rental and buy your forever home in a cheap area. I don't know if you buy your forever. I agree with the first part of that, but I think your forever home shouldn't necessarily be in a cheap area. One thing that people don't take into consideration when they're having these conversations is maintenance and property taxes. They don't, when y'all say, well, I'd rather pay a mortgage, but you're not also saying I'd rather pay a mortgage. I also want to take into a consideration what the utilities cost, my homeowners association fees, property taxes, insurance, and then maintenance, and then if the roof need to be replaced within the next 5 to 10 years or anything like that. And so your true cost of home ownership is not really it's not being presented in an honest way. There are so many people that regret buying a home because they truly didn't know what they was getting themselves into. They truly didn't know what they was getting themselves into. A lot of people say, I want to buy a home. Okay, cool. What are your property taxes? Especially over in Texas, $8,000 a year, $9,600 a year. Oh, okay. So you're going to be paying basically $800 a month in property taxes, and then you got to pay the insurance, and then you got to pay the maintenance on top of that. Cool? Cool? You renting anyway. Don't pay your property taxes and see what happened. You still renting. If you really put it in perspective, The purpose of a home for a lot of people is to build wealth and to be able to have a place to stay without worrying about being homeless. That's the whole idea of having a home. And a lot of people truly, they don't even understand. Okay, so you move over to Texas, you move over to Florida, and you're not paying income tax, but your property taxes is out fucking size, and you still can't afford to live there because the food is so high, and inflation is kicking your ass, and they continuing to raise property taxes, especially since you changing hands with the person that has the deed on that particular property. And you can't afford to live anyway. And so just based off of your property taxes, which not even taking into consideration your mortgage, it's not taking into consideration the heating cost for that place because you said it's so big. I literally just did a coaching call with somebody about 2 weeks ago, and they say, man, listen, I got a huge property. It looked nice, but it costs an arm and a leg to heat this motherfucker because it's huge. And people are not taking that into consideration. There's so many costs, and the true cost of home ownership is not really being presented to you because it's easier for them to just sell you a mortgage for you to pay interest on that property, and then you're going to wind up paying double for it, and then you're not even taking into consideration what the true cost of home ownership is. That's the truth. Chester Williams says, I'm going to give you one hint on how to make the most of both worlds. Gentrification is happening in the closed-in suburbs. Do with that what you will. Thank you for the fireball, my friend. Justin Pearson is in the building. Shout out to you. Not sure if you commented on this before, but any thoughts on China's Iran-Saudi deal? Looks like they will join BRICS soon, and the U.S. will need another war to stay economically afloat. I commented on this yesterday. I kind of had a conversation. I had a whole live stream on it yesterday. But my main comment is that we've always been in an economic war. It's always, even when you look at a physical war, it hasn't been a physical war. It's always been an economical war, right? One of the reasons why Russia is so pissed at the U.S. is because of the sanctions that has had an economical impact on what it is that they're doing within their country. When the U.S. sanctioned Russia, it pushed them over the edge in which they really, really became enemies with the United States of America, which was something that the Biden administration did as a result, according to what they were selling us on the news, of them engaging in a war in Ukraine. It goes all the way back to President Clinton. President Clinton, for a lot of y'all, and I didn't even bring this up this day because I just wanted to talk about the money. President Clinton recently apologized for his role in removing nuclear arms in Ukraine or forcing Ukrainians in order to give up nuclear arms in order to protect themselves against major threats such as Russia back when his presidency was in effect. They asked him about it and they forced him to apologize as a result of it because of his role in it. This goes so far back. This is an economic war. We've been in an economic, every single country that we've ever invaded, it wasn't just because they bombed, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, it wasn't because they did anything against the U.S. It's because we wanted to go and take their oil. And now you see China leveraging their partnerships with other countries in order to make sure that they can get more resources, and then they're trying to and let me be clear, this is not going to be something that happens overnight. So tomorrow or next year, you're not just going to wake up and then your money is worth half of what it was last year. That's not going to happen, all right? This is something that they're playing for. They plan it for the decades. They plan this for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years out, right? Because over 62% of the world's currency, reserve currency, is held in the U.S. dollar, right? But the value of the dollar is not against anything such as gold or precious metals anymore. And so it's always going to be an economic war because your confidence in the specific currency in which you trade in is largely based off of whether or not the people believe in it. And we got to prevent inflation or hyperinflation. So it's easier for us to push a manufactured recession on ourselves in order to drive down inflation, in order to continue to give you confidence in the American dollar as well as bailing out the banks. So in a sense, I do have an opinion on it, but I don't think that it's something that we're going to be affected by immediately. I think that it's an opportunity for the United States of America to get our house in order to understand what the long-term threat is, because the short-term threat is not going to be as impactful as the long-term threat. But Justin Pearson, that is my thoughts in a general sense. Thank you for the 50 ball. I absolutely appreciate you. I think that you're awesome, but I think that China is basically going into business not only to go against a war, going to an economical war with the U.S., but also because they want to continue to extract resources such as the energy over in Russia. And we also know that Brazil is a resource-rich country also, right? So Yeah, I think that it's absolutely an interesting thing, but I don't think that most people understand money enough to even be able to have a conversation and know what's really going on with this whole BRICS thing in the first place. Shout out to you for the 50 ball. Drew says the best I did during Rona was refinance to a 2.125% interest rate. I think that was a smart move. But the question is, are you ever going to refinance? Are you ever going to refinance in order to try to pull money out of that property in order to invest in other properties, which is one of the reasons I dropped the video inside of the Patreon about the reverse snowball method. All right. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Listen, take the advice that I have, that I'm giving you guys in the conversations that we have, with a grain of salt, because I'm a C student. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a person that's telling you what to do with your money. I am a person that's telling you what it is that I'm doing with my money, and then using that in order to inform you from a business perspective. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm again, or dislike, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. That's weird because I only got 7 dislikes. My dislikes is going down, which I am still confused because I'm wondering why somebody would dislike the level of game and insight and information that I'm giving you in the financial sector. Why would you dislike the type of game that I'm giving you today? That's wild. But hit a like for the YouTube algorithm and tap into the Patreon. Let's get into tipping. I want to get personal now. Let's get into tipping, y'all.
When was the last time you purchased something and you weren't asked for a tip? Yeah, I can't remember either.
Tipping culture has gotten out of control. I get up to the pay window and she's like, how much do you want to tip? What am I going to tip you for? I'm in the drive-thru. Oh my God.
Tips have been on the rise for decades. During the 1950s, people commonly tipped 10% of the bill. By the 1970s and 1980s, that jumped to 15%. Today, people tip anywhere from 15 to 25%. According to one 2022 survey, consumers said they tipped more than 21% on average.
Nowadays, there are people who argue 20% is kind of a cheap tip.
While the percentage that consumers are tipping at full-service restaurants in the past couple of years has remained about the same, in the fourth quarter of 2022, the number of tips provided at full-service restaurants grew 17%. Meanwhile, the tip frequency at quick-service restaurants such as coffee shops and fast food chains rose 16% during the same time period.
What we're seeing now nationwide is something that is known as tipflation. At every opportunity, we're being presented with a tablet that's asking us how much we'd like to tip.
In many cases.
So let me give you a little bit of my experience and one of the reasons why I find this interesting. A lot of you, first of all, are familiar with my stance on tipping. I believe that when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. The other side of the equation is that I'm also understanding of it because I've owned, ran, and I'm also a silent investor in several different restaurants, right? So I know exactly what the financial impact is and what the incentive is for people to tip. I don't think that there's one place that I go into today, including going to get a massage or whatever, where they don't ask for a tip, where they don't have a tip jar, where they don't have a sign that says not asked for, but certainly appreciated and all of this other type of stuff. I think that we've become a part of a culture in which even the women today will look at you funny if you go out and you give a less than 15, 18, 20% tip. 15, 18, 20% tip. I went into a bar the other day that's right up the street, one of my favorite bars to go to on a regular basis. And you know how you can see the bill or when somebody had get up and you waiting for them to get up. And so you sit down at the bar because I'm usually at the bar. I'm never in a booth. And then you actually go and you sit at the bar and you can kind of see what people tip, right? And so I had seen somebody with like an $80 bill and they had only left like a $1 tip. Now, I've always been a United States of America citizen. I'm not from any other country. I know that Nigerians and Jamaicans and people that are from other countries are notorious for not wanting to tip. They're notorious for not wanting to tip, right? And so I come from a culture where I've always believed tipping was necessary because I was conditioned to believe it, and I still believe that to this day. And I always, like, even I got a subscription service for my car wash, right? And so when I jump in my car and I'm coming down here or I'm coming home, I'll usually run through the car wash because I need my car to be fresh when I'm driving through the streets. And I just keep a whole lot of fives. Like, I just stop in the beginning of the week and I get like $400 in fives. And then I'll get a few 20s. I'll get $100 in 20s and $400 in fives. And so all throughout the day, I'm tipping. I'm giving money to the different people. And they don't even be tipping half the time. A lot of times I just be giving money away, right? But I'm tipping. I'm tipping the guy at the car wash. Not the guy that drives the car, the guy that sprays the car. I tip the guy at the car wash. I tip the person that opened the door for me. I give some money away when I'm on the queue line and I'm getting out, and I jump out in front of the Health and Human Services building. And so I'm always just giving away money. And so that's just kind of been the thing that I've believed in my life, because my family has always said that you take care of the people that take care of you the most. But I've also understood that me being overly generous, in my opinion, and based off of my experience, has yielded me even better results, because people then give me information, they give me tips, they tell me where it is that I can save more money, they introduce me to other people that I then do business with. And so the best way to really get I'll give you an example. This is just a social me, right? And I'm going to play the video after this. The best way, for example, and I'm going to read Super Chat shortly. Thank you, Blaze. The best way, for example, for you to really get a feed on what's happening, whether it be at the bar, who coming through, what the new opportunities are, is your dealers and your bartender. The bartender will give you the skinny on whoever it is that's sitting at the bar, who's who. The first thing that they do is they make room for you and they say, hey, Anton, and they tell you everything that's going on, who you need to be introducing yourself to. Hey, Anton, make sure you, because this person, we got such and such come in and you might want to stick around for another hour, so on and so forth. And so me taking care of them ultimately makes sure that they overly take care of me, and which it's yielded better results, right? When I go into the casino a lot of times, and I just make sure that before I ever put some money on the table, I make sure that I tip in everybody, and then I give them a percentage of anything that I win if I win. They give me the skinny on every single thing that's happening, what's about to take place, who's coming through, what's about to be shut down, so on and so forth. And so they give me the skinny on all things happening within the city, within the facility, who's coming, who's going, who told them this, what girl is going to be sitting over there, and whether she available, and whether or not she just rock with him, or she rock with him, and if this guy is with her and who's her husband, in order for me to make sure that I bring it. They tell you everything. And so I'm never just looking at things just based off of the surface. And so when people, say, well, I'll never, they don't deserve it. I'm not doing it based off of whether they deserve it or not. I'm doing it because I know that it's the same way of how I pay my people. Me compensating people more or treating them better than other people treat them then yields me better results. That's why my people are loyal. That's why my people don't quit. That's why I've been able to retain employees, is because I incentivize them, or I make sure that I tell them I care for them, not in the things that I say to them, but the things that I do for them, which then yields me a much better result for the things that we do in business in. Let me continue.
Cases, not only replacing the old-fashioned tip jars that you could feel good about throwing some spare change into, but actually suggesting tip amounts, often right in front of the employee receiving that tip. Not to mention also your dinner date and the dozen or so people standing behind you in line.
And it's gone beyond just the tablets. The other day I was using the Hopper app to book a hotel, and it wasn't until I confirmed my payment that I realized my hotel was $10 more expensive.
But here's the thing though, right? When I go into my hotels, right, whether I'm on the Marriott app, I shouldn't even have said that because they haven't sent the bag. Shout out to Marriott for not fucking sending the bag. Whether I'm on the Marriott app or whether I got a guest over at the MGM Grand Hotel, every single person, including the management on down, knows that when I walk into the door, that you treat Anton, you give him the highest floor, you give him the best room, you take care of his guests. They already know exactly what it is that I'm supposed to do. And so I always make sure I take care of them extra. I take care of them extra. and they're going to make sure that you get the corner suite. They're going to make sure you get all of the upgrades, the whole 9 yards. I'm not tipping because of what it is that I'm expecting for them to do with the money or whether they deserve it or not. I'm tipping more because of what I get in return and the fact that they always making sure that I'm taken care of. Think about it. Think about what I'm saying. You can cheap out your whole life, but you don't know what you don't know. And so everything you need to do is looking at it from a business perspective.
It turns out Hopper assumed I wanted to add a tip.
What do you mean Hopper is adding? Nah, I don't know about that. That's wild. Hopper is asking for a $10 tip? Come on, fam. I don't use apps like the Hopper anyway, but that's just me.
I had to go back to a prior page in order to opt out.
Tipflation refers to not just that we're tipping more, but we're tipping everyone for everything.
You're being guilted into tipping on something that is not technically a service. It's someone simply doing their job. In those situations, consumers...
I agree with that on a lot of these different things. But I'm expecting exceptional things from the people that's around me, and so I treat them accordingly. What did I just do? All right, let me see if I can get that up again. Hold on.
But we're tipping everyone for everything.
You're being guilted into tipping on something that is not technically a service. It's someone simply doing their job. In those situations, consumers are feeling resentful. Where do you draw the line?
Oh, Ash, I'm a Marriott Titanium member also, big dog. Titanium Elite, baby.
TIP stands for to ensure promptness. Tipping may go back as far as the Roman era, but according to most experts, the practice likely has its origins in medieval Europe.
Noblemen taking passage on roads would throw coins to the rubble to ensure safe passage. One theory is that it evolved in eating and drinking establishments as a way to forestall envy, that when you're eating and drinking, you're having fun, and the people who are serving you are not.
Fast forward to the 19th century, when waiters who received a full wage went on strike demanding higher wages, they were replaced with women who employers could pay less.
Damn,
a decade later, there was the population of newly freed slaves. The idea from these restaurant owners was that they were giving the luxury or privilege of a white person's tips. That was without a full wage.
Ironically, as tipping exploded in the United States, it became less common in Europe and was replaced with service charges.
While the first federal minimum wage law was passed in 1938, it wasn't until almost 3 decades later when the tip minimum wage was established. Consumers say they feel pressured to tip more. They're being asked to tip prior to service completion.
Asking for a tip beforehand is almost like a bribe.
That's true.
Right? I'm afraid not to tip because, well, you do less good work.
Customers might not be concerned about the barista's perception of their tip before getting their latte, but what about the mechanic repairing your car? I don't know about you, but I'm certainly going to make sure to tip them well to ensure my...
Let me tell you what the real problem is. There's no need in having an extended conversation about this. Let me tell you what the real problem is, right? It's the same thing that's the problem with everything else that we have going on in the United States of America and everywhere else in the country, right? I'll show you the Lamborghini. The problem that we have is that we take one thing and then we make it way more than it's supposed to be. So tipping is supposed to be essentially for the servers, right? It's supposed to be for the people, and it's the reason why they make X amount of dollars, whatever they used to make, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 an hour or whatever. And they're supposed to be, okay, it's like sales. You eat what you kill. And so the expectation here in the United States of America specifically was that you tip good service. And it incentivizes them to give you great customer service, okay? The problem is that now, as usual with everything, people take it and they capitalize off of it. And so everybody is expecting, not appreciative of, but they're expecting a tip as a result of the things that they do or they're supposed to do or what they've chosen to do. So I agree that it is out of control. I'll give you another example. I seen somebody, Dr. Omar Johnson, for example, right? He tells people to hit the Cash App, hit the Cash App, hit the Cash App, right? Now, I jumped on this live stream today, and I'm live streaming, right? And on the replay of the live stream, when people go, now, an ad played in the very beginning of this video. If you don't have YouTube Premium, the ad played in the beginning of the video. And it's a possibility that an ad will play at the end of the video, right? And then on the restream, there will also be, if people restream this app or does somebody come in and watch it later, there will probably be ads in the middle of this restream, right? But you will never see me say, hey, why y'all not giving super chats? Why y'all not giving cash apps? What I say is, you are not required to, and I will never ask you for a super chat or a cash app. However, I am always going to acknowledge it, and I'm appreciative because it is something that you guys choose to do. It is not something that I have an expectation for. I chose to live stream. I'm going to possibly make a halfway decent amount of money from the ads that then people restream the live stream for. Or I can choose to just drop a pre-recorded video. It is not a requirement, right? And so just because people do it doesn't mean that other people should be required for it. I'm always going to be appreciative of anything that, that's why I appreciate the dollars. If somebody give $1.99, I'll be like, listen, thank you. I'm showing all super chats and so on and so forth. So to be appreciative of something versus requiring something is two different things. And I think that people have now got an entitlement mentality and that they're requiring and expecting you to do something that they then chose to make a part of their profession on a regular basis. And you are not required to tip these different types of people that I don't believe is a standard, right? If you go into a place and they doing service and they serving you as far as like you go into a restaurant or whatever, yeah, that's cool. But if I go into a hotel, I'm paying for the room that I paid for. Now, if I tip them and say, hey, listen, thank you, I appreciate you or whatever, if they choose to treat me even better, then that's just something that's extra. But I should not expect for anything to be more than what it is. And they should not expect to be tipped as the front hotel desk staff. And that's where I think that the problem is. That's where I think that the problem is. And so, listen, I think that every content creator is different. Everybody got a different way of doing it. Me personally, I am not going to require anybody to do anything because I'm appreciative, but I chose to do this. Now, the other side of the conversation is, are you adding value for a service? And that's where we then say, okay, listen, I'm giving you game. If you want the extras, if you want to understand the reverse snowball method, if you want to look at the interview like a king, if you want to look at the 8 things that I look for when I'm looking to make an investment, I can choose to then add that as a service. And then I say, listen, that is a part of the Patreon. And this is a group of people in networking. And then I show up and then I meet y'all and all of this other type of stuff, right? I do these webinars. I bring these special guests. I make sure that I give you exclusive content, uncensored and so on and so forth. That's a completely different thing. Then I'm giving you the option to then do something extra on top of that if I want to give you exceptional value for whatever it is that you decide that you want to contribute as far as for that is. But there is no expectation, and we should never be requiring anybody to do anything. And if you do, then you should be giving them a service, an additional service that goes along with that. And you should disclose that before they decide to be able to patronize you. So I just operate differently. I've never had a course. I've never sold a course. I'm not knocking anybody that sells a course, but I think that people that sell a course is offering a service. They're offering a service. And so if you find value or you think that you can get value from that course, then you can go and spend your $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in order to get that course. Me, on the other hand, you know what I'm saying? I give people an opportunity to be able to leapfrog off of what it is that we already doing. And if they want to, get the full service experience, then that's what they have available. And if not, then I chose to do this. I chose to jump on YouTube. I chose to live stream. I don't deserve anything more than whatever it is that people decide that they wanted to give. And I appreciate that. I'm always going to be appreciative no matter what. And you're never going to see me say, listen, I need you to make sure that you hit the Cash App or whatever, or make sure you send a super chat. That's just me personally. Everybody else got their way of doing it. I got a completely different way of doing it. And so I'm rocking out like that. That's just my way of doing it. Let me read some of these super chats. Kingdom Minded 1121 says, I've always used super chats and PayPal as a tipping vehicle. And I'm always appreciative of you supporting the platform. You're not required to, but you certainly hold me down on a regular basis, and so I love it. Apparently, you find value in the things that we talk about, or you're entertained about what it is that I do on a daily basis, and so that's why you decide that you give out of your own heart, and it's not a requirement. You know what I'm saying? Blaze Skywalker says, I don't mind tipping, but it's earned and not deserved for me, from the waitress to the DoorDash driver. I agree. I don't disagree with that even a little bit. Persevere Data TV says, when you tip well, they hit you with the, let me see what I can do. That's a fact. That is a fact. And sometimes they don't, but more often than times they do. I'm rocking with it. I'm rolling with it. Jake Fever says, I tip in $2 bills. Not too much. And it makes folks feel like more because they don't see them that often. It's a conversation starter too. I think that's a dope method. That's dope. Where you getting $2 bills from? Thomas Bell says, I love you, big dog. Hope Rita is getting better. Rita is out here having a good time. After that speech I gave her yesterday, she went and she said, oh, I had a teardrop for mine. Let's go out and have some fun. Shout out to Rita. Yeah, man. Shout out to Rita. Greatness to Work says, I support Black media and super chat topics I feel are needed today. Some of these YouTubers' content sucks and need to invest in their craft more. Well, there y'all go. If these people is not holding you down and they're not giving you no super chats, then that means that it's something wrong with you. It's not something wrong with the people. Jerome Autry says, audio level was too low today. Great show nonetheless. I need to turn my audio up. Hey, do I need to turn my audio up, y'all? Is my audio good? No? I thought my audio was straight. Let me hit that up a tad. I thought my audio was good, Jerome. Thank you for letting me know, though. I'll make that adjustment. Shay Cal says, some of these YouTubers hold the content till they reach a certain number. You're on another level. I got a different way in which I go about doing things. I like to add value. Even when it comes to my sponsors, what I do is I like to add value and let them see what the value is that I add. And then I go about negotiating on what it is that they want to pay me, depending on the value that they get from rocking out with me. So I always look to add value first. All right. So listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody that helped me down with every super chat, every Cash App. Even if you just hit a like or the dislike for the YouTube stream, if you're watching this right now when you're rolling out with me, you are very much appreciated. I would invite you, if you want to continue the conversation, if you want to come to the Patreon meetup, link is in the description for y'all to tap into the Patreon as well as pinned to the top of the chat. We are the bag chasers. Bag chasing meaning that we want you to do the thing that's in your best interest, understanding that the money and all of the other stuff come along with it. Look, Jake Fever says, the bank, bruh, they still make $2 bills. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm going to go into the bank and ask for some $2 bills. Hey, let me get some tip in $2 bills. Listen, y'all, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm allowed for y'all to cam up and give me y'all insight and information. We did a lot of work with regard to the money today. I will clip this up for y'all that like to consume it in smaller portions. I love you. I appreciate you. But I need you to do me one more favor before we get up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Cliff Williams says, these condo tenants can hear Pookie next door because they didn't call Wall Machine Incorporated to build proper soundproof walls. Pookie could be running a marathon and you get a good night's sleep. Shout out to you. Also, my dog, Brock. Thank you, Cliff. I appreciate you. Brock says he hit us with the Pass of Love offering as usual. I know what you meant to say, Brock. Listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for continuing to hold me down. Tomorrow, same time, different show. I'm going to allow for y'all to be able to cam up. Be good to each other, y'all. Peace.